Hello YouTube. Today I want to take you back to the Ural Mountains, to the many mysteries and secrets from ancient times that land contains. You can check out my many other videos about the Urals, the cryptozoology, stories about vanished tribes, underground kingdoms, the Dyatlov Pass investigation, and much more. But today I will tell you about a very interesting celestial guest that arrived in the Urals long ago and is a very unusual object, maybe even alien object. I hope one day real peace will come to our planet and people will be able to visit other countries, and you could travel to the Urals and see the fascinating object yourself. Well, the Komi or Komiyas is also called Komi-Zirians or Zirians, are Permian or Finnish nation. When I say Finnish, they have the same ethnic background as the Finns. It's a nation whose homeland is in the northeast of European Russia, about the basins of the Vychegda, Pechora, and Kama rivers. They mostly live in the Komi Republic, in the Perm Krai or region, in the Murmansk region, in the Khanty-Mansi Autonomous Okrug or area, and the Yamalo-Nenets Autonomous Okrug in the Russian Federation. Kudymkar is a town and the administrative center of the Komi-Permyak Okrug of the Perm region. The village of Osh is located 30 kilometers from the city of Kudymkar. Previously, there was a dense forest on the site of this village, in which there were probably many bears. In any case, this is indicated by the very name of the village from the Komi-Permian language, Osh-Ib, which can be translated as the bear field. The village itself, being a typical Ural outback, is not of particular interest. It was built in the periods of 3 stages, and which gave the name to the districts Old Oshib, Lyachkan, and the New Oshib. Part of the village stands on a hill, which is popularly called the Cape of Chutsky, and on the outskirts there is a large ravine, the Paleovlog, but the surrounding of the village attracts tourists and researchers from various directions. 4 kilometers northwest of the village is a place called Galyalog. There is a unique ritual and cult monument. It is a stone of incredible size, comparable to a small house or to a hut. To date, most of the stone has gone underground and only a small piece is visible. The stone is popularly called an is, which can be translated as heavenly or divine. According to local legend, this stone fell from the sky many centuries ago. The area around the stone is indeed dotted with craters in which nothing grows. Old-timers say that the locals tried to dig up the stone several times, but it only went deeper into the ground, and I was able to find an old photograph, by the way, of this stone and the people who were in the area. Some believe that the stone is a particle of the Tunguska meteorite that fell in the Siberian Taiga in the year 1908, but others claim that the stone was in that site much earlier. The Neolithic sky will be pierced by the fiery snake of a meteorite, and 3 versts, 3 miles from the bear field, whose name is Oshib, a huge stone, and Is will crash into the Taiga, and the Rodanovites will rejoice and begin to worship that stone sent by the good heavenly God to comfort the poor forest people. This is how the essence of the large boulder, if you can call it that, of unknown origin was revealed by a Soviet story about the Komi-Permyak people. Now, the entire circulation of this story was put under the knife. That's the Russian saying. Basically, it was cancelled, censored. But despite the loss of materials that Soviet ethnographers worked on, local residents have not lost faith in the mystical properties of the stone located in the Ural hinterland. Locals believe that this stone is of extraterrestrial origin because there is a funnel formed around it, and there are simply no stones of this scale in this area. There are no rocks nearby, no boulders, only a forest with clay soils. In addition, several similar depressions are visible at a small distance from the stone, which indicates that most likely fragments from the NEs are scattered here, and the stone itself is a meteorite. Geologists have refuted the theory of a meteorite, but they could not explain the nature of the appearance of the stone, where it came from. However, the locals agree on one thing: this stone is unusual. In the old days, religious rites were held next to the stone. People prayed to the gods and sacrificed food and drink to them. It was believed that the stone is able to cure various diseases and illnesses, and also has a special energy. After prayers, people went to Titko Kluch to wash with the spring water. Wealthy people even brought a samovar here and arranged tea parties. Samovar is a special device that people use in Russia to make tea, and it was a very good tasting tea, and you eat it with local donuts and so forth, bagels. Anyway, the people did not forget about the stone in pre-Soviet and even in Soviet times. During the summer festive holidays, festivities, young people burned bonfires here and arranged dances on the stone. Now few people believe in the healing power of the stone, but many claim that the energy here is special. Supposedly, when strong adult men faint next to the stone, whatever it was, a magic stone or not, but the local authorities decided that the stone is worthy of becoming a point of attraction for tourists to come here. So in 2018, the area around the stone was decided to refine it and develop a tourist itinerary. Benches were placed next to the stone. Well, they said that there are no berries or mushrooms 20 to 30 meters from the location of NEs. The authorities of the region decided to improve the site and the path to the Gayalok sanctuary. In addition, measures have been taken to strengthen the soil as the ground is increasingly sinking. Please recall, I told you before that the Urals and Siberia, the Komi Republic, are usually associated with the legends of the Chud people, the white-eyed Chud, who went underground, meaning literally under the ground, fleeing from the dominance of their lands by Christian newcomers and beliefs. But in the annals, historical and ethnographic works of the 18th and 19th centuries, you can find quite a lot of mentions of the Divi people. And I talked about them in my other videos. From the time immemorial, the Chud people and the Divi people were one kind, according to some researchers. Russian ethnographer Anuchkov briefly described how the Divi people looked, mentioning one interesting fact. The Divi people live in the Ural Mountains. They have exits to the world through caves. They come out of the mountains from their underground factories and walk between people, but people do not see them. Their culture is the greatest, and their light in the mountains is no worse than the sun. So there's an underground object like the sun. Divya people are small, very beautiful, with a pleasant voice, but only the chosen ones can hear them. They foretell different events to people. They say that in the villages of Beloslutsky, Zaykovsky, and Stroganovka, a ringing is heard at midnight. Only people of good life with clear conscience heard it. Such people can hear the ringing of the bell sound and go to the square to the church. An old man from the Divi people comes and predicts what will happen. If an unworthy person comes to the square, he can see or hear nothing. The light in their mountains at midnight, a ringing is heard. In a strange way, these legends have been confirmed in life. Tourists and hunters have several times heard strange stories about unusual light phenomena that they observe in the southern part of the Perm region and the Ural Ridge. About the year 2007, three hunters at the invitation of another huntsman friend, they were hunting elk southwest of the Krasnovishersky Reserve. Having settled down in the evening on a small island opposite the place where moose most often went to drink, they began to wait for the dusk. When it got dark, one of the hunters noticed how a bright dot flashed on the top of a distant hill, appearing as if from a mountain. The dot descended down the slope and began to approach the hunter, who was frozen in amazement. And it was moving along the riverbed. Flying closer, it turned into a bright sphere that illuminated everything around it. The balloon, let's call it that, or sphere, hovered a few meters above the hunter's heads. In fright, one of them raised his gun and fired. The sphere flashed angrily, and the people felt wild horror that made them, without taking apart the road, so to say, without finding the road, rush through the swamp and thorny bushes to run towards the huntsman's hut. Later, when the hunters came to their senses a little, locals told them that these spheres are not uncommon guests here, and they fly out of the same mountain all the time, only they have not attacked people before. The story found a continuation of sorts some 5 years later, when the famous traveler of the Perm region, Dmitry Kochetov, told about his conversation with the Mansi people, actually one of the Mansis who lived alone in the same area. The Mansi claimed that he knows a cave from which the fireballs very often fly out, and judging by its location, this is exactly the place where the hunters encountered UFOs. Workers of the Krasnovishersky Nature Reserve have also repeatedly observed strange phenomena. Once they had to escape from a fireball chasing them in the forest. People often heard a strange sound in the mountains, similar to the operation of a jet engine, although there are no military units and especially no industrial buildings nearby. So you can see how interesting this area is, but I want to get back to the Kudymkar. I want you to listen to this description. On the map of the paranormal Russia, if such one ever sees the light, this boring provincial town would be immediately noticeable. Its special energy and mythological background is not difficult to feel. It is spilled in the air. This is a deeply provincial Ural town with all the pros and cons and sleepy inhabitants, a kind of sticky and deaf territory of the spirit where you feel like an uninvited guest or frankly an outsider. This is obviously not a Russian city. Everything is different here, its own way, in its own way. Although all the science and everything that is written in general was written in Russian. This is by somebody who knows the esoteric situation in his country. Very interesting description. You see towns like this sometimes in horror movies, but it is there. One day, when political climate changes in Russia, I would love to travel and see Kudymkar. Its secrets and the mysteries of the Perm region just add flavor to the paranormal essence of the Ural Mountains. Let me give you another example. In the outback of the Perm region, in the middle of impassable marshes and swamps, a small but crystal clear lake opens to the sky. A lot of mystical and mysterious stories relate to this lake, and its name is not the most pleasant sounding. Hell. The size of the lake is only 2 by 3 kilometers, and the depth does not exceed 10 meters, although the bottom surface has not yet been fully studied. The water is framed by beautiful shores strewn with white quartz sands. The peculiarities of the geographical location and inaccessibility contributed to the formation of a unique ecosystem. Some representatives of the fauna are simply amazing, giant pikes that can drag a duck under the water in the blink of an eye. Whooper swans listed in the Red Book, reindeer, fluffy hares, and even bears. A natural question arises: why is such a beautiful and interesting place disliked by local population and fishermen and hunters? They avoid profiting from the local animal world, so to say. Inexplicably, but a fact, scientists are still lost in their hypothesis trying to explain the strange processes taking place on that lake. Every spring, the water surface of the Hell Lake begins to bubble and boil. It's like boiling water. Also, the reservoir never comes down. Waves overwhelm the shores, even in windless weather. The center of the lake is often called the Permian analog of the Bermuda Triangle. Fishermen who accidentally swam there, they tell about strong whirlpool destroying boats, and a group of scuba divers who came to explain this amazing fact almost drowned, underestimating the power of this natural anomaly. This is confirmed by representatives of the animal world. Migratory birds rarely land on the water surface, and swans, they cling to the shores. There are many interesting hypotheses explaining the mysterious fact, but this is just hypothesis, you know. So, if any of you ever travel in that area, when the time comes, it's worth, and do you think that you want to take a trip to the Hell Lake? Well, you have to be a fan of off-road travel and well-trained. You have to be a brave fisherman in search of a giant pike or perch. And of course, you have to be a lover of mysteries, riddles, and mysticism, but never go there alone. A help of a guide or local old-timer who knows the trails well. This is what you need. The same is true in some areas of Mexico's Yucatan or in Southern Africa that I visited on my field research, a few other places on this planet. It's a fascinating planet. In the next videos, I'll tell you about other areas of Eurasia and, of course, other phenomena that could be considered as paranormal. I thank you for your attention. Please subscribe to my channel. If you can support my research, you'll find description and the links to this video, and check out other videos about the Urals. It's really fascinating place, unusual, and it's been like that for centuries. Thank you.